All right, let's talk some Miami football here on Mark Rogers TV. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for the smart fan. And we bring in Cam Underwood from time to time and do our best to track him down. He's a busy, busy man there at State of the U, and especially this time of the year, even though it's the off season. It's, of course, kind of the second National Signing Day, about a week away, that first Wednesday of February. Cam, we appreciate you jumping on board as always, and we'll get down to recruiting. So you got another commit on the dotted line.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's good to, be back around and everything. So, recruiting is where I started my blogging career, and this is where we are. So, 1 week away from National Signing Day, the original one that used to be the only one, but now the second one because there was the early signing period in December. Just a couple days ago, Miami got defensive tackle Jordan Miller to commit to the class. Oh, Lord, excuse me. I'm sorry for not silencing that alarm. Anyway, Jordan Miller, anyway, back to the recruiting. He's 6'4", 330 pounds, defensive tackle. He goes to Jacksonville Sandalwood High School, but he went to Palatka in the middle of Nowheresville, basically, before that. And he was a 2-star rated player. He got a couple big-time offers after his senior season, including Miami, Tennessee with Jeremy Pruitt, who was the defensive coordinator at Alabama for years, who has an eye for defensive line talent. Georgia Tech, I think, and somebody else, Virginia, where he visited. They all offered after his senior season. So he has some talent. The thing about it is he did not do any recruiting camps. So things where you would go to get exposure and things like that. Now, I'm not going to say that he's the best player in America, but what I will say is I think that he's a little bit better than some people are giving him credit for. And you cannot teach 6'4", 330 at defensive tackle. If you watch a senior highlight film, there's a lot to like. He is a work in progress. I'm not going to say that he's a day one, A1, everybody's All-American, Ed Oliver kind of clone. But I think he can play, and he has a spot in this class. Now, obviously, the flip side of that is he has a spot in this class because Miami missed on Dennis Briggs from Kissimmee Osceola, or Gateway, High School, who committed to Florida State. So it's not just like, oh, we found the best player in America out the middle of nowhere. But I think that Jordan Miller can play here in time. And, we have a piece up on him, welcome to the U piece. I'll also be writing my recruiting notebook breakdown on him for National Signing Day when he actually signs, which is next week. So that's a good addition to the class. That brings Miami's class to 22 commits right now. So we only have 3 guys who are currently unsigned, that being Jordan Miller, who just committed, Nigel Bethel, speedster out of Miami Northwestern, who committed a couple weeks ago, and then Nesta Silvera, defensive tackle, All-American from Plantation American Heritage School, who has been committed for a long time but did not sign at the early signing period with Miami. But hopefully he's leading some peer-level recruiting because Miami is going after a few of his teammates, which I'm sure that we'll talk about coming up in just a couple seconds.
Let's do that in just a couple seconds, meaning right now. So it's the #1 recruiting class by all the services in the ACC. It's top 5 to 6 in the nation. And I know you're extremely happy. And for those folks out there that did not catch the coverage with Cam concerning the early signees, please look that up on my YouTube channel and check out the coverage, of course, on State of the U. So the targets for the next week, who are those guys that are on the fence that could make this an even better class?
Yeah. Going right back to American Heritage, there's 4 guys that Miami are after. And it's actually funny. The coaching staff is going to do their in-home visits with all 4 of these players today. As we're recording this, actually, they're probably in somebody's living room. But the first one is Nessa Silvera, defensive tackle, 6'2", 310 pounds. She's a U.S. Army All-American, been committed to Miami for a long time. He's strong. He's good on the inside, can play the 3 technique. On the defensive line, he can get penetration. He body slammed somebody in the playoffs and kind of flexed on them. And he was probably one of the best players during All-American week over other more highly rated guys, even 5-star guys. Silvera played better at the Army All-American game. And that's from all the reports from people who were there, saw with their own eyes, everything in the game, the week of practice leading up. So he's one of the four horsemen, as you call them, from American Heritage that Miami's after. But again, he's already committed in the class, and the expectation is that he will sign with Miami on February the 7th. The second player on the defensive line is Andrew Chatfield. He's a defensive end or an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, 6'2", about 225-ish. Doesn't have really extensive length or wingspan kind of things, but he can play. He had like 23 sacks as a junior, had like another 19 as a senior. So he's a very productive player. Was committed to Ohio State at the time, decommitted from them. And it's basically come down to Miami versus Florida, it looks like, for his commitment. Looked like he was going to commit to Florida a while back. They had a coaching change. Then Miami finally offered him after withholding that offer or not giving that offer for a while. And he's been quoted as talking about Miami being a dream school, and that offer meant so much because it's the hometown and things like that. But even with that being the case, it seems like a Miami versus Florida battle for him. So that'll go down to the wire. So those are two defensive linemen. Numbers 99 is Severa, and then 9 is Chatfield. And then you got two cornerbacks who are probably the top two corners in this class overall in America, and they play on the same high school team. So, if you wonder why, or part of the reason why American Heritage repeated or three-peated as state champions this year, it's just because you couldn't throw on them because, you got these guys on either side of the field. So the first one is Tyson Campbell, 6'2.5", probably about 195, 200 pounds. He does have great length and size, good speed. He was the 100 and 200 meter champion in the state of Florida for their classification on the track last year for American Heritage. So he's big, he's tall, he can fly, he tackles well. He does pretty much everything you want from a cornerback. He was a 4-star kid pretty much throughout the cycle. Everybody says he's a 5-star now. And yeah, I mean, he's just like awesome. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want him on the team? Especially with, Miami losing cornerbacks and the unfortunate career-ending injury to Malik Young exacerbating that situation. Obviously, you want multiple guys at that position. Now, we do have a couple. Miami does have a few guys already signed and on campus for cornerback, DJ Ivy, Gilbert Frierson, who could play either corner or safety. He's on campus right now, and he's going to start at cornerback, but you'd like a 5-star day one starting kind of guy. And Campbell can be that guy. So he's the guy that Miami is going after. A lot of the talk right now is that Georgia is in the driver's seat for his commitment at this time, but Miami's not going to go down without a fight because he's too good. Like, we're not just going to let that slide. I mean, he might go elsewhere, but it's not just going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it doesn't matter. No, we're going to keep recruiting him. And then the other guy is a name that you've probably heard before, is Pat Surtain Jr., who is the son of the former All-Pro Miami Dolphins cornerback Pat Surtain, who also for the last couple of years was the American Heritage High School head coach, who coached his son and Tyson Campbell and Andrew Chatfield and Nessa Silvera and other guys going other places and who have gone other places. Brian Burns from Florida State, Anthony Schwartz, who's going to Auburn. There's a multitude of amazing players from American Heritage. Marco Wilson was at Florida. He was there also. Pat Surtain Jr. is the other guy who's at cornerback. He's 6'2.5", almost 6'3", 195, 200 pounds. And he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 cornerback recruits in the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, across that span, he's the truth, just period. I remember seeing him at a 7-on-7 team tryout when he was 14, and his footwork was better than 18 and 19-year-olds that time. And it wasn't really even close. And he just kind of came to get a workout because his dad was there and, his friends were there, and everything. Cool. All right, I'm going to go. And we're just like, wait, who's this kid? And that was, PS2, as they call him. So he's there, and they're going to visit him. LSU in the driver's seat for his recruitment. But Miami, again, not going down without a fight, at least making a push, stating their case, as it were. So Pat Surtain, all 4 of those guys, Patrick Surtain Jr., Tyson Campbell, Nessa Silvera, and Andrew Chatfield will probably be on campus at Coral Gables this weekend. Now, Chatfield already took his official visit, so it will be an unofficial, as in he would pay for himself, drive himself down. Anything that happens, he would come out of his pocket for. The other 3 are going to come on official visits this weekend. So the 3 of the 4 horsemen. and they're working hard to get Chatfield to come down as well. Another guy who Miami is targeting right now and is going to visit this weekend is Jamarcus Chapman from Rome, Georgia, two-time state champion. And he's a defensive tackle. He's about 6'2 and a half, 260 right now, but he's stockily built, so I'm sure that he can add on extra weight and size as it moves forward. But this is a kid who can play. He's a 3-star rated kid, but I mean, he was committed elsewhere previously in the cycle. LSU is where he was committed to, and I mean, he's from Georgia, and he's very impressionable. Is the impression that I'm getting, and in that anywhere that Jamarcus Chapman visits is the best place ever. It's like, oh my God, like it was so cool. And I saw the facilities, and then like we're going around and the fans are talking to me. And then obviously like, the young ladies on campus are amenable to my presence and, all these things. It's like, oh, it's great. It's great. It's great. So, that was, Florida, or then, okay, or Tennessee, and then next week it's Florida State, and then now it's Miami, and I've been committed somewhere else and almost committed to another 5th school on top of that, and those kind of things. So hopefully Miami getting the last visit with Chapman will pay off. But there's that. Obviously, on top of that, Jordan Miller just committed this week, and he's going to be there for an official visit this weekend as well. So you're really looking at Surtain, Campbell, and Silvera on their official visits, along with Miller and Chapman. Maybe get Andrew Chatfield, who's the American Heritage DN, to come down for an official, and maybe somebody else. I don't really see any other pop-up visits or secret visits coming. The only other player to mention as a target, right now is wide receiver Marquez Ezard. He's from Georgia, Stockbridge, Georgia, and his high school's colors are white and green and orange. So hopefully he comes in this class. He's 6'2", 215 pounds. He's a bigger wide receiver, kind of in the I'm trying to get a Miami comparison here. Maybe a Leonard Hankerson kind of thing. I mean, the real comparison is like a Anquan Bolden. He's just like bigger and stronger than most people. So he's not going to create a ton of separation, but he's going to muscle you. And I hate to use a player from another team because I hate it when they always compare their players to our players, but the comparison is really on the level there. So Ezard visited last week. He was committed to Florida State previously, and he's the player that Miami's looking at for the 4th wide receiver spot in this class to go along with Mark Pope and D. Wiggins and Brian Hightower. So those 4 guys are all different in their interaction on the field and their skill sets. So hopefully last week's visit to Coral Gables locked him down. So that's like 7 or 8 names. But yeah, you're really looking at Ezard, Chatfield, Chapman, Silvera, Campbell, and Surtain Jr. As the guys who are on the board still for Miami as we move forward to National Signing Day number 2. And Jordan Miller, sorry, forgot him.
And of course, Anquan Bolden, not one of those like all-time jaw-dropping kind of guys when it comes to when people think the very best wide receivers of all time. But when you're talking productivity, it gets no better than Anquan Bolden. Very few out there have forged the NFL career that guy did. There's no question about that. And he did it by out-muscling guys and just being a better physical specimen. Cam, during your recruiting spiel, you mentioned a name in Malik Young.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that hit you pretty hard. You probably had an idea that it was headed toward that conclusion in regards to his career. Unfortunately, we got the news officially a couple of weeks ago that is pretty much the end of his football career. Just your thoughts about Malik Young, and also I know it's difficult to project right now because you may get 2 elite corners, you may get 1, you may get none. But let's say you get something reasonable in the middle. What is the impact of Young's loss?
Yeah, that one kind of came out of left field for me. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I knew he left early. I want to say first quarter, second quarter from the bowl game against Wisconsin, and was ruled out for that game with a neck injury and everything. Okay, those things happen. You move on, and it comes a couple weeks after the season. And then, maybe about 10 days ago, the news broke that he was going to require career-ending surgery, which he actually just had yesterday, I want to say. The surgery, which was successful, by the way. And before I go any further, Malik Young, by all of the reports, including what was said by the University of Miami, he will be able to lead a normal life. So he will be, he'll be able to walk around, he'll be able to run, he'll be able to go work out, he can do all those things, or a lot of those things, maybe working out in a different way, but he won't be able to play the game of football. So I know that is probably tough for him. It was tough for me to hear because you have a young man who, was playing very well. Physically gifted. He was fast. He had some big plays in games and things. And then, you have a lifelong dream taken away from you in the snap of an eye, or, of the whisk of an eyelash, or the blink of an eye, I should say. That's tough. So, we wish him the best as he recovers from his neck surgery and he moves forward. But that's a big loss for Miami on the field. He was going to be a starting caliber player, probably lock down one of the starting cornerback spots on the field for 2018. So that matters. It's a big detraction from the team. So, the first thing that you have to look at are the guys on campus. So that means Javonte Dean needs to step up and become at least a rotational player. He was a JUCO guy, was committed to Alabama last cycle until the last second. There's, you can say Alabama dropped him or Miami poached him, whatever you want to say. Either way, he's in Coral Gables, but he only played 100-something snaps this year. That's not going to be good enough for you. Michael Jackson, who was should have been first team All ACC, he needs to step up and continue that kind of play. Trajan Bandy needs to continue to step up his kind of play, but Bandy's only 5'8", so you're not going to put him against a taller wide receiver. So now that means you got to look at the new guys who are on campus. DJ Ivey is pretty much a young Artie Burns. He's had that comparison for a while. I've said that. Other people who have seen him play have said that. Artie Burns, who went to Miami, was a first-round draft pick, 6'1", 180 pounds, really long arms, good hips, great coverage, all those kind of things, yeah. So you want DJ Ivey to come in and then play. And he's going to have to play. Also, Gilbert Frierson from Coral Gables High School, which is right down the road from the University of Miami in the city of Coral Gables, Florida. He could play outside at corner or inside at safety. And he's like 6'1.5", almost 6'2", probably about 190 pounds. And he's really that height, length, speed combination player like a Javonte Dean. But he's going to have to step up and play snaps also. So those 5 guys are really, really, really going to have to play. Now, on top of that, to replace not only Malik Young, but also D. Delaney, who, is gone to the NFL because he graduated, was a grad transfer, but specifically talking about Malik Young in that he had eligibility left and, obviously had his career ended prematurely. You're really looking to bring in Pat Surtain Jr. or more likely would be Tyson Campbell. That would be a home run. Obviously, we already have those guys, other guys on campus, but you want to bring in one of those guys because they're 5-star day one, A1 players. They are prototypical height, speed, technique. They've learned from Chad Wilson, who was a former Miami defensive back. His sons, Marco and Quincy Wilson, both went to Florida. One is in the NFL now in Quincy. The other one, Marco, started as a true freshman. Then their head coach was Pat Surtain, Sr., who played in the league and was an all-pro 2 times. So you have this wealth of knowledge and skill that has been passed down to Campbell and Surtain Jr. So you really want one of them. Also, you have Nigel Bethel from Miami Northwestern. He played mainly wide receiver this year, but he has the ability to play defensive back. And I think that he will have to either be a return man, and I think he can do that because he's fast. And he could also play defensive back. I don't necessarily see him finding snaps on offense just because the skill position players at Miami are so talented that I'm not confident that he would leapfrog them on the depth chart. But yeah, there are options. So when you look at the guys who are already returning, the veterans, and that being Dean, Jackson, and Bandy, they got to step up. And then when you look at the younger guys who are coming in, Ivy, Frierson, probably Bethel, hopefully Surtain or Campbell, that should be a good cornerback room, especially when you pair that with the safeties that are there. But some kind of combination of those factors or those players, that's what's going to help to settle the cornerback spot and then also cover for the loss of Malik Young, like I said, to his career-ending injury.
All right. You are the smart college football fan. Watching Mark Rogers TV, we bring in the best bloggers and broadcasters across the industry, including Cam Underwood from State of the U. Please join him there for Miami football and basketball being a big deal this time of year, and the Canes doing well, I believe, in the ACC. Join them right there. All right, Cam, tons of comments coming in from the videos, and probably the one that is most frequent is just simply, where's Cam? So I get that when I don't see you for a long period of time. And I'm looking through the videos thinking, okay, it was 2 weeks ago, it was 3 weeks ago. I don't know that we talked last was, I believe, right before the bowl game against Wisconsin. Maybe it's been that long. Man, time slipped away from me. So I'm going to condense a ton of comments into one that is probably the shortest statement from Valdis Mosley. But this is the sentiment from a lot of fans. Miami's offensive brain trust is in need of a vital upgrade. Miami's offensive concepts and play calling need to be able to match up better against the defense. Valdis didn't point out Mark Richt's role in this, but a lot of people do, saying, hey, we love him as a head coach, glad we have him, but as an offensive coordinator, maybe he needs to move aside. Maybe he's a little outdated. Now, when the players on the field, specifically the quarterback, aren't making the plays, of course, play calling gets targeted, but I'm going to leave this one up to you.
Yeah, and I think that that's exactly where I'm going to go. You know, you can only do so much with what you're given. You know, and I know that I'm not going to say that he's perfect. I'm not going to say that he's perfect as Mark Richt is perfect as a play caller. Absolutely not. I've said that, you know, the improvements need to be made. And throughout the season, we saw diversification of the offense. We saw some jet sweep action, DJ Dallas going into the Wildcat, doing a lot of variety, some new and different things. And I think that hopefully we'll continue to see the addition of those kind of things as time moves forward. But the offensive line needs to be better, because if you can't get things blocked, then you can't run it. And that's just plain and simple. So it doesn't matter if it's a zone play, it can be a power play, it can be the GT pull, you know, like what Georgia does sometimes, where they pull the backside or the one side guard and tackle going to the outside. It doesn't matter. You can't do a straight 5-step drop back if you can't block the guys in front of you. We saw that when Brad Kaya got a concussion against Clemson a couple of years ago in 2015, when Clemson only rushed 2 dudes and the guy got free and blasted him the hardest he's ever been hit on a football field. So that needs to improve as well. But, you know, Mark Richt, I think when we saw him finally start to open things up, and diversify and give some of these different concepts that a lot of people were talking about, I think that did have a positive impact on the offense. I think when we reshuffled the offensive line a little bit, that did make things a little bit better. But, you know, you do need upgrades across the board. So you lose a couple offensive linemen, you got to replace those guys. And there is the question of what to do at quarterback. And I'm just going to leave it at this, because I have not gotten to the point of the offseason where I've been able to write about the quarterback situation, which has been in my brain, but I need to sit here and type. And that's going to happen after National Signing Day. But what I will say is, regardless of what you feel about the individual player who played quarterback this year, upgrades need to happen. And that can be of either, you can take that to be of Malik Rozier's performance or of a different person playing that position. But regardless of who's behind, under center, behind, in shotgun, whatever you want to call it, there has to be consistency and upgrades of performance, demonstrable performance on the field. Take that as you will. I will comment more about that later.
Cam Underwood, State of the U, doing extended work for us tonight, diving into the mailbag and answering your questions. And I'll include this one from Tony Kidd about a month ago after talking the first National Signing Day in the recruiting class there. Tony writes, I still think we need more stud-ass offensive linemen. We got to improve up front and get more physical along the offensive line.
Yeah, I don't think that that's limited to offense. I think that that's for both sides of the ball. I think that's on both lines where improvements can be made. Now, you know, hopefully you have guys like Zalante Hillary, who was a 3-star, 4-star borderline kid from Georgia last year, came in and redshirted. He's an offensive tackle. Hopefully he takes a step forward. Navon Donaldson was a freshman All-American by pretty much every entity that made such a list as right guard. Maybe hopefully he takes a step forward. Maybe you kick him out to tackle on one side or the other. Maybe you leave him at right guard. Maybe you move him to left guard. But wherever he is, even by being a freshman All-American, you still need to see progression. So I agree. Miami definitely does need guys on the offensive line. You got 3 really good pieces coming in this year. DeLon Scaife was an Under Armour All-American. So was Cleveland Reed. Scaife played guard and tackle, even throughout the week of practice at the Under Armour All-America game and in the game itself. Cleveland Reed played right guard right next to him. So Scaife was at right tackle, and then Reed was at right guard. So those are the kind of caliber guys. And then you have John Campbell from Orlando, Dr. Phillips. He was the left tackle on their state championship winning team. He might not come in and play right away, but that's a very good developmental piece. So you're not necessarily offensive line, like anything else, is a thing where you got to throw numbers at the problem. It's going to take a couple of years of getting guys of that ilk and stack those. But I think that Miami knows that. I think that Stacey Searles and I think that Mark Richt are well aware that the offensive line, in particular, since this was from the offensive recap video he was talking about. But yeah, on both sides of the ball, the lines do need to be improved, and I think that that's what the staff is working on.
Cam Underwood, State of the U, joining us to break down Miami football. Please join Cam and the rest of the crew at State of the U for the very best in Miami football coverage. Of course, they get those final signatures along the dotted line 1 week from today. Cam, we always appreciate when we can track you down and get the best from you, because people are looking for it. I tell you that. So anytime you can make time for us, we are right here.
Yeah, I saw those Twitter ads flying and everything, but it's sometimes things get busy. I have personal obligations that I had to do, but it's always good to be here with you guys. So leave a like on the videos and hop in the comments. And always, if you miss me, you know that I'm on stateoftheu.com. So if you miss me that much, go over there and check it out.
They don't get to hear that voice though and see those pearly whites.
See that, then they can go on the YouTube archives, but still, whether it's on the written word or the spoken word, I appreciate it and look forward to talking to you guys soon.